Hello again, YouTube patrons. This is going to be a short story about a short-lived wall. Basically, I want to take this wall down, and I don't want to put up temporary walls on either side, cut all the ceiling joists out, and raise a beam from below. I want to do it all from above. So I think Fine Home Building or somewhere I read that they call this an upside-down beam. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stuff a beam in the attic, and I'm going to set it right on top of all of the ceiling joists. This is a dividing wall in a 1970 brick ranch house that separates the kitchen and living room from the dining room, which is on the other side of this wall. So it's basically left to right, parallel to the street in the house, and it's holding up a low pitch roof. There's really no weight above other than a couple of down brackets for a low pitch roof, and I'll show you those in a minute. But I want to take this wall down. Started the video a little late, apologies. I've already started prepping this opening, which was just a trimmed cased opening into the foyer, into the front door. And I'm expanding it a little bit because I wanted to steal some of the 2x4s, because what has to happen, obviously, if you're gonna set a beam on anything, you have to have enough support in the beam. Now, I've already verified that I have a footer underneath the concrete slab. This is a slab house, and I already have a footer underneath. So we're gonna stack all of these 2x4s where this beam is gonna land. So we're gonna fill this entire space with a bunch of 2x4s screwed and nailed together to make sure this beam has enough support to get rid of this entire length of this entire wall from the kitchen all the way over to the opening in this hallway. I should mention that this video focuses on the beam itself and some of the framing required to put a beam in. There are many other considerations, such as wiring, HVAC, telephone lines, low voltage, high voltage, door openings. There's all kinds of other considerations that you need to take into account before you tackle a project like this. I've got it all sorted out in my head. I'm gonna move some of these switches from here to this wall here. This paneling wall is coming down as well. It's gonna get drywalled before we're done, so it'll be easy to drop wires in from the attic. The HVAC runs are gonna be done differently in the attic, partially because the main trunk line, the main trunk return runs in the attic right along where the beam needs to go. So that's coming out of the attic as well. And when that gets replaced, we're gonna have some of the branch lines rerun as well. So kitchen's already done. This wall's already been taken down, turned it into a big island. So this is all about the beam going above this wall here. Okay, furthering the effort to take this entire wall down, we have filled this entire cavity up with 2x4s, stacked, nailed, screwed, and glued, so that we have something very solid for the beam to rest on. Now, this was a typical 36 inch trimmed opening, so I went ahead and tore all that out because I wanted to recycle several of the 2x4s to fill in the space. A, because it's less going to the landfill, and B, because they're already cut to the right size. So this has already been filled. We've put all the 2x4s together. We continued this wall over with two 2x4s with spacers, and then behind that we stacked up all the rest of these 2x4s so that when the beam stops up here, it'll have something solid to rest on all the way down through the point load down to the footer. So there'll be no issues with the beam resting here. So the beam's gonna stop here, it's gonna carry all the way across, and it's gonna rest on the outside. Let me show you the outside wall. This is the wall that's coming down from the other direction. And right outside in the garage is where the beam's gonna rest on this end of the wall. So this wall, the beam's gonna sit on top of it, and so we filled this pocket in with all these 2x4s, and all of this material here also confirmed that the footer runs along the perimeter of the slab, and it runs down underneath this wall. So we are resting on good footer, and the beam's gonna rest on top of that wall. Let me show you what's going on in the attic. So what we have in the attic is a very low pitch roof, typical of coastal brick ranch house in 1970. We have a few roof braces coming down on the wall that I want to take out, and we have a few HVAC runs that are, of course, this is old school. This is hard duct, metal ducting, no soft runs here. You can see here where all of these ceiling joists overlap on this wall. So that's the wall we're removing. and that's the overlapping ceiling joist resting on that wall. So where all these rests is where all of these brackets, these roof braces came down and were resting on this wall. So what I've done is I've taken them off, braced up the roof, taken them off, shortened them up just a smidge, and I've rested them of on top of the ceiling joists so that they're not in the way. So they don't carry down to that wall that we're removing anymore. And then we're gonna see if we can sneak that beam into this attic. Now, therein lies the problem, which you may or may not be able to tell from this terrible dimly lit attic, is I don't have a gable end. This is a hip roof all the way around, meaning there's no gable vent, there's no siding to remove, and I'm not gonna compromise the roof just to try to slide a beam into here. So the plan is we're gonna cut a hole in the garage ceiling over here, and we're gonna try and slide the beam in to the attic this way. And let me show you what that looks like from underneath. So right above where we built this pocket for the beam to sit on, we're gonna cut a hole in the drywall ceiling, and I'm gonna reframe one ceiling joist to open it up, because of course they're 16-inch on center and my beams are 24 inches tall. So a beam would not physically fit through there at this point. So we're gonna reframe one of the ceiling joists out of the way, try to slide the beam in, and we're gonna do so by going from this window at an angle up to this hole in the attic. And one way or the other, this beam's going in, whether it's an upside down beam like I want that goes on top, or whether we cut the wall down and raise it from below, we'll find out soon enough. Well, what you see over here, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if I can point to the right thing. What you see over here is the gable end vent, my makeshift gable end vent that I'm going to remove to slide the test beam. This is my litmus test. So the first thing that goes down is a laminated 2x4, an LVL 2x4 goes down first, and then we're going to tie it to each of the overlapping rafters, and then the beams go on top of that. So we think if we can fit this 2x4 in there fairly easily, that the 24-inch beams will go also. So let's give it a shot. Slide it in. Now, remember, this beam is going to be 25 inches wide, but it looks like I've got plenty of room here. We'll measure this to be sure. It is very, very close. We'll be very close. Let's go have a look in the attic and see what it looks like. One of the concerns coming in this way is that I'm gonna run out of peak, I'm gonna hit the top before I can get it in the window and raise that up. So if we can get enough of it in the attic to at least get the end of it in the garage, we can lift it up, which will lower this end and get us into the attic. So let's go see how much room we have left in here. And looks like we're gonna hit a brace. If that's my beam sticking up there, we might run into a brace before we run, so we may have to brace that one up differently, slide that in. Let's go find out. Yeah, we're definitely gonna hit that beam first. That beam's gonna have to come down, get it out of the way. Attic work. Everybody loves attic work. Put some shit in the attic. Okay, so the brace is out of the way. Temporary brace installed. Let's see if we can slide this in or not. Hopefully we can without knocking everything down off the walls in the garage. Let's find out. And we're clear of the window. I think the beam will fit. Woo! It's in. Bitches. Oh. Now let's see if I can walk out of here. Whew. It's not even March. Yeah, still February and it's already hot in the attic. There we go. Beautiful. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, give it a tug. We're good. Okay. All right. Woo! Oh, God. How we moving here? Oh. You ready? Try it on. Oh, it's easy. Uh-oh. Right. Yeah. Come on down. Oh, there we go. Nice. Thank you. Hi, everybody. World of gratitude. So we'll start with, now that the beams are in the attic, we'll start with how it all sort of goes together before I get into some of the retrospective opinions on what I've done here. First thing that goes down is this 2x4. Now, this is a 29-foot, 30-foot beam. So the first thing that has to go down is a 2x4. You can't get a 30-foot 2x4 in yellow pine or fir or whatever they sell at big box stores. So I had to go with the LVL 2x4, the land beam 2x4. It's very, very stable. It's very flat, and you're not going to find that with natural wood products anyway. Because what you have to do is lay this down on top of all of your overlapping joists. And everywhere the joists intersect, on top of the wall that's coming down, they get two lag screws. And so these ginormous 6-inch 5/16 lag screws, two on the end of each overlapping joist. And that ties them all together with one continuous 2x4, and it puts them on the same plane. We did run a level across the top of all the joists and made sure they were still level from, this 50 years of settling on this house. But each joist got two 5/16 6-inch lag screw, GRK lag screws. It was an enormous task. We burned through 2 drills, 2 impact drivers. It was great. It was a lot of work, but it really, really tightened everything up and pulled it all together. There's, like I said, 29 feet of beam going in, ceiling joists every 16 inches. So I think there's 38 joists up there altogether. So it was a lot of screws. I mean, I asked a whole lot out of my little Ryobi impact drivers, and you can see that they were just so hot to the touch by the time I got to the end. Even after taking breaks and resting them in front of fans, you just couldn't even hardly hold them. The motors were so hot. I can't believe they didn't physically melt the plastic, but they got the job done. There was a lot of assembly required. I think in retrospect, especially after that first run of having to get the screws in the top of each joist, retrospect, being hunched over in a short attic, a hot short attic, was really no fun. I don't know why anybody would do an upside down beam on a house like this. You can see here that I did a 6-inch nail pattern every 16 inches. This was required by the engineer. This is how they drew it up. So I created a little template there to help me land 6 nails every 16 inches pretty rapidly without having to measure each set. So 6 nails every 16 inches up one side of the beam and down the other, tying these 2 beams together. These are the big 3-inch framing nails. And then at every intersection where the beam went over a joist, it got a twist strap. So there's 38 joists, there's 38 twist straps. Each one of those twist straps, I think they had 22 nails in each twist strap. So these Simpson twist straps had 22 nails each. So you had to buy the special nail gun that leaves the little tip of the nail sticking out so you can center it over the hole. And of course, this is sped up. This is a month worth of being hunched over in this attic, nailing stuff together. So again, in retrospect, I'm not sure I would do an upside down beam again. I would probably just cut the ceiling, send the beam up from underneath, and use joist hangers like a normal person. But the engineer was happy to draw this up. He felt like it was a very, very solid way to do it, provided we could fit the beams into the attic without a gable end, and we did. So they went in. One of the things we didn't consider, and you saw how they were sort of splayed out, one on the left and one on the right before assembly. One thing I didn't consider is where the hell do you put these beams while you're trying to get them in the attic before they're ready to go on top of the 2x4. They were totally in the way. These things are enormous. And then next in this long drawn out assembly process, and what you're about to see is I'm adding metal straps. This is a really thick gauge Simpson metal strap. I just bought a big coil of it and I cut them all down. I think they were 44 inches-ish long each, and in each one of those metal flat straps, there was 46 nails per. So, and I'll get into the total nails here in a minute. I did some math on that. If this thing fails, it won't be because of the beams failed. It'll be because of how heavy all the hardware added up. Anyway, Wouldn't do it again. I'd probably just cut the ceiling, raise the beam from underneath like a normal person, and go from there. Unless you have a tall attic or plenty of access on either end, it really just doesn't make sense. So here I'm just taking down the rest of the paneling that was on the wall before the wall came down, and then from underneath, I'm using these 3/8 inch, 12-inch lag screws that go from the bottom side up. So they go up through that lamb beam 2x4 into the 24-inch beams above. So again, every 16 inches, two 12-inch screws for a grand total of one 30-foot LVL beam over 38 overlapping joists, plus the screws on the ends where it lands. That's 80 5/16 6-inch lag screws. There's two 24-inch LVLs with a 6 nail pattern every 16 inches for 114 nails on each side for 228 nails total there. There's 38 joists. Each one gets a twist strap with 22 nails per. That's 836 nails there. There's 19 43-inch flat straps with 46 nails per, another 874 nails. And from underneath, going up the end of the 2x4 into the beam was two 12-inch lag screws every 16 inches. That's a 38 screws there. So a total of 118 lag screws, 228 framing nails, 1,710 Simpson nails for a total of 1,938 nails. So in conclusion, 5 out of 10. Wouldn't do it this way again. But the results speak for themselves, I think. And totally worth the price of admission. I was catching my wife's reaction when she got home from work. Amazing reaction. And you just can't pay for that kind of acknowledgement and affirmation. But don't just take my word for it. Here, you can see for yourself.
Wow. It feels huge. Ginormous. Yes. What a difference that's going to make. What a difference. Wow.
Well, with that glowing approval from my wife and my mother-in-law, let me give you the grand tour. Obviously, we've skipped a few steps ahead, but I can kind of show you some of the things we were able to do after the wall came down. The wall had to come down first, obviously. Starting with, we filled in all the holes where the existing wall was. We had some bad drywall. Now, construction cat, no scratching the furniture, please. Thank you. Kitty cat approves too. So we filled in all the holes in the drywall. We actually did hire a drywall contractor. I don't know if you could tell in the early videos, photos. We had a mud pattern on the roof. It wasn't a popcorn ceiling that could just be easily scraped off. This was a stipple pattern with a stomp brush where they leave a design up to the roof out of drywall mud, and it had several coats of paint on it. So we hired a drywall contractor to sand the ceilings flat and to touch up all of the repairs I made. So now that that's done, we have a flat ceiling. We have wonderful flat skylights. We just start here and make the rounds, I guess. We'll start and turn back. We did a TV wall. Be on the lookout for an additional video that goes over how we made a TV wall with down lighting in each of the niches, speaker cover grills for the back of the niches, which hide all of the audio video equipment. I figured we had enough clunky mid-century modern mantles and hearths sticking into the room. I didn't want a piece of furniture holding my TV up also sticking into the room, and I didn't want the TV sticking into the room, so everything is recessed into these niches, including the audio video equipment. So we did down lighting, we did LED backlighting, which you probably can't see during the daylight, but that's done. We added a ceiling fan to the living room, a modern ceiling fan, and we did all the ultra conveniences like 3-way switches now, so we can turn the ceiling fan on from the kitchen or from the hallway, so we can get the light on if we need it from whichever direction we're coming from. Of course, the foyer is no longer closed off with that wall that was going there. The foyer is gone, so it's wide open into the living room, which I prefer. I know I used to laugh and poke fun of everybody on the reality TV shows. They want these open concepts. Well, turns out I wanted an open concept too. And so we did an open concept foyer, and we did same conveniences. We did 3-way lights for the front lights, for the hall lights, and for the dining room light, so whichever direction you're coming from. We also, now that our dining room is now that our house is no longer divided by a giant wall. We have a giant dining room table that's open to the living room and the kitchen, so we have plenty of room for guests. We framed in an office because at some point this 4-2, the 4 of the 4-2 is going to become the primary ensuite bathroom. So the fourth bedroom is going to become our private suite. And so we needed an office because right now, currently, the fourth bedroom is my office. So I framed in an office here, and it's got a nice little closet there in the corner. And on the back side of the closet, we did a pantry. Pay attention for another video because this is going to be a fancy pantry with a butcher block counter and a little coffee space. It's gonna turn out real nice. The laundry sign is actually going in the laundry room. That's another video, and at some point in the future. And the design is, I'll overlay a screenshot here. The design is we want to use these same frosted door slabs in front of the office to allow a lot of light in and make it still feel roomy. The office doors will slide. The pantry doors are just a double French door. And of course in the kitchen, we did the 2 columns to create a giant island because now this wall is gone. So it really opens up the space. We went with the granite countertops. We went with a large style sink, new appliance package, refrigerators that we can change the colors on the panels. In fact, that's the inspiration for the color on the wall, was one of the color on the panels. So, but all in all, we've got a few projects left. It really opens up the breakfast area as well. Again, we just fixed all of the drywall in the ceiling, which was looking pretty haggard and pretty stitch work. Kind of looked like an old quilt up there. But we still have work to do on the fireplace. We're gonna cover the fireplace, probably Joanna Gaines' favorite shiplap of sorts, although I think we're gonna go vertical instead of horizontal. Not sure yet, but because we have a header up there, we thought the brick came all the way up, and we took out a box that was framed up there, and we added these 3 LED lights, but it left us with an exposed header where we thought brick was all the way up, but it was exposed header hidden back there. So we have a little bit of work to do on the fireplace. I appreciate you guys watching this transformation. It means a lot. Please leave your comments below. What should we have done differently? What would you have done differently with this space? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know how you think we did and what you might have done differently. And we'll go from there. Look for future videos on TV walls, on mantle transformations, offices, pantries. We have a lot of content coming out. Please subscribe, like, and look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching.